Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 633 for the 18th of November. Let's start off with missile strike being reported over at the Kreminna Oblast near the city, the capital city, which is at Kanatovo Airbase. So according to the Russian Defense Ministries in today's report, today's report is supposed to talk about yesterday's thing, but because this report is recorded a bit late, there is additional information coming out from today, which includes the Russian Defense Ministry's SITREP from today. So this is a SITREP, the Russian Defense Ministry is also a SITREP, so no SITREP. So anyway, so usually the today's SITREP is most of the report is talking about the things happening the day before. So yeah, so this could be happening the day before, but for those that do not know, this is just a routine that I always do. That for the Russian Defense Ministry report, I always put the date as the day they put the report. So anyway, yeah, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, fuel storage was destroyed. So this just to make life difficult for the Ukrainian Air Force. I'm not sure how much aircraft do they have left. There was so many claims by the Russian Defense Ministry about all these planes getting shot down, but the Ukrainian seems to have some reincarnation spell or raise the dead spell, necromancy that able to make more and more airplanes. I'm not sure. Also yesterday I talked about the Black Sea battle. So the Russian Defense Ministry came up with a statement in their SITREP, in their daily report, that about the conclusion of this fighting. So according to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that their naval aviation, the Navy Air Force, have destroyed one high-speed boat with landing servicemen and seven other surface drones of the Ukrainian Navy, 80 kilometers west of Sevastopol. So I actually put it in the wrong place. 80 kilometers west is around here. So I move this. Yeah, it's around here. It's actually pretty close to Sevastopol. And so the air defense also destroyed 2 Neptune anti-ship missiles and 5 HIMARS. So this is basically corroborates whatever Ryba has reported regarding this battle. So it's very interesting how Ryba is able to get all this information when I didn't even see it anywhere. So yeah, they must have some kind of other sources, or maybe there are some other means, some other places where the Russian Defense Ministry reports information that I cannot see, that they actually report earlier before they post it into the Telegram. Or maybe they have a daily briefing. I'm not sure. I really do not know how they get information so early. So over at this Kherson Front, at the Kherson Front, there is no information about battles over at Krinky, except that the Ukrainian Defense Ministry actually mentioned Krinky in their evening report yesterday for the first time. Not first time, but I'm not sure if it's the first time, but I haven't really heard much about Krinky from the official defense ministries, and they claim that 20 of these Russian troops actually left their combat positions voluntarily, deserted the area of village of Krinky. So this, of course, take it with a pinch of salt, because this kind of claim is kind of weird. And of course, how do they know that they voluntarily left and it's not by order? How would... So a lot of questions, but not very important. Moving on over at the Zaporizhzhia Front. Over at the Zaporizhzhia Front, fighting continues over at this Horlivka sector, where the Russian forces continue, or rather they launch a massive counteroffensive of sort, because the number of locations being mentioned is quite a lot from the Russian Defense Ministry's today's report. And this includes not just in this Horlivka sector, there's also over at the Kupyansk Front, there's also over at the Avdiivka Front, and also Bakhmut Front. So there's a lot of battles that the Russians seems to expanding. Donetsk Front as well, especially Donetsk Front. You will see later. So the fighting was reported in the northeast of Kopani towards Robotyne, from Novoprokopivka, as well as west of Verbove. This is actually also acknowledged by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry about the fighting over at Robotyne, the Ukrainians counterattack as well, and there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces south of Robotyne. So there is this acknowledgement of the Russians fighting near Novoprokopivka already. The informations come from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry about that. The Crimean cavalry simply geolocated the front line over in this area here, south in this area. It was actually a decent sized armor convoy that was trying to attack towards Novoprokopivka, and then they got struck by Russian anti-tank weaponry. I'm not sure if there's a tank that fired at it, but it basically caused the chaos. The Ukrainian forces basically withdrew away from this position. So yeah, so that's what happened. So there is a Ukrainian attack towards Novoprokopivka, but we are not seeing the report about that. So so the all this about the northwest of Kopani, this is actually reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. As you can see, Robotine northwest of Kopan, and so there is some kind of major fighting in this area here, but no frontline changes. Over at this Velika Novosilka sector, the Ukrainian forces launched counterattack over at Uruzhany and Staromayoske. Particularly at Uruzhany, we haven't seen an attack since the 29th of October, so this is actually a very unique attack from the Ukrainians. We haven't seen much of it. Staromayoske continues to be a flashpoint with the both the Ukrainian and Russian Defense Ministry talking about the fighting in this area here. However, geolocation of Ukrainian forces over at this tree line that was bombed by the Russian Air Force using cluster munitions. So this is, I think, if I'm not wrong, this is a cluster munition. Yeah. So this is the first time, I think, or maybe the second time only, that we see cluster munitions from airstrikes being used for the first time. I think this is the first time. I think we've seen Russia use artillery system to launch cluster munitions, which is also very rare. Ukrainians use it a lot more because they run out of shells. They have to use whatever they get. But the Russians use this RBK 500, basically a 500 kg bomb with cluster munitions. So this is the first time we see this, and this is going to it's not going to be a game changer, but it's definitely going to make the Ukrainians have to hide underground a lot more, because such cluster munitions aim is actually to attack soft targets on the surface. So if you're in the trench and it's not covered, you might get hit, which is actually the same situation faced by the Russians facing HIMARS with cluster munition, as well as artillery with cluster munitions, used more towards by the Ukrainians. But nowadays, I also didn't see much of this footages coming out from the Ukrainian side. Over at the Donetsk Front, this is the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, the Russians seems to have launched a series of attacks. This is actually reported by the Russian Defense Ministry themselves. Over at Novodonetsk, Shevchenko, Mikhailsk, towards Konstantinivka, or they just simply shell Konstantinivka and Novomihailivka, and of course the usual in the fake village of Marinka. So this is a whole of the frontline attack, and this is actually basically reported by the Russian Defense Ministry themselves. If you look at the statement, they say that it's the units, the troops in cooperation with assault, Army aviation, which is air support and artillery, and then they basically went for Ukrainian manpower. So you can read it as a fire mission. It doesn't feel exactly like they're trying to capture ground, but we just take a look. We just keep track of this to see whether it develops into some kind of ground offensive or ground assault operation, because on the first day it's always very hard to tell, because information always come and go. So let's see how this goes. The Ukrainians did counterattack over at Novomihailivka itself. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry yesterday. So this could actually happen on the 17th, not necessarily on the 18th. But the main thing, the Russians are the one making the push in this area, in Novomihailivka. Marinka, for the first time in a long time, 16th of October was the last time the Ukrainians actually was reportedly attacking within Marinka. So they have been on the back foot for a long time, and the Ukrainians went on the counter. Maybe they were pissed off by this very daring capture by the Russians, and somehow the Russians are also still pushing. So there was a major clash along this very flat ground, the flattest town in the world. So That's all for Flat Town. There is geolocation of Ukrainian forces within Krasnohorivka, north of Marinka. So nothing really much to talk about this. Over at the Avdiivka Front. So this is the Avdiivka Front. At the Avdiivka Front, the Russian forces concentrate, as I mentioned yesterday, in the SITREP, the Russians have piled on a lot of forces within Krasnohorivka, and so a bit disappointed. A bit disappointed with the views yesterday. I thought it would hit 30k, but it didn't. Only 20k, but it's okay. Which means I have to repeat the information again. The Russian forces has piled on a lot of forces within Krasnohorivka, and they're going to push out in multiple directions, and this is exactly what had happened. And the main concentration of assault is indeed over the past day concentrating over in the north towards Karamik, towards the northwest of Krasnohorivka, towards Ocheretiny. Karamik is over here, as well as fighting towards the west of Krasnohorivka, towards Stepove, which is here. So the other assault that is only reported is over in the south, in the industrial zone southeast of Avdiivka. So in the southeast one, we have the geolocation of Russian forces within this industrial area, this small little industrial area southeast of Avdiivka, and fighting continues to be ongoing. The Russians are pushing in this direction. I will be posting the video. The hero tank is back. The hero, the solo tank that went into a rampage, into this area here. He's back this time around with friends. I will be posting the video, after the SITREP. Let's see how this goes. And so yesterday I was supposed to post a video about the flattened Marinka. I forgot. I scheduled it onto the wrong day, so I just published it. So do check it out. And geolocation of Ukrainian forces over at Leshtokine, the road along Leshtokine, as they driving past multiple destroyed equipments, including a tank, where they joke about because the tank turret was totally detached. It was pointing airwards, and they were saying that this tank is actually anti-aircraft. It's actually pretty not funny, because I don't understand Russian or Ukrainian. So there is geolocation of the front line infantry units north of the coke plant, with the Russians pushing in this direction, geolocated in this area here. So it does show that the Russians are still making this push. As I mentioned yesterday, the Russians will be going from the north. They will aim to capture the tree line, secure their northern flank in this area here before they can actually confidently push south into the coke plant. So this is exactly what we are seeing now with this geolocation. We are seeing that the Russians are pushing down this tree line, and so yeah, so I'm kind of correct in that sense. So we move on away from the Avdiivka Front. We move into the Niu-York Front. At the Niu-York Front, new geolocations have shown more progress by the Ukrainians. Niu-York offensive. I would say this is not even Niu-York offensive. We can call this a Horlivka offensive, because this is the major city of Horlivka, and the Ukrainians are pushing. So there is new geolocations in the middle of Pivdenne, as well as another one south of Zalizne. So the Ukrainian forces are making serious push in this area here. We previously have seen geolocation in these two areas here, and then the Ukrainians are actually secure this area here, able to push into the village itself. It looks like there is not much defense, not much defenders within this village. They managed to enter here very easily. The Russians shot them. Basically most of these are all drone attacks or shelling, and basically showing that the Ukrainians have made very good progress, and they will continue to push and probably secure some of these locations around this water region here. And then they can actually make further pushes within this sparsely defended area, and then to force Russian forces into defending Horlivka, because Horlivka is a very important city. It's one of the major cities within the Donetsk Oblast, and so if Horlivka getting siege is not a very good thing. And the Russian Defense Ministry basically acknowledged the fighting over this area here, as they reported fighting at Shumi. So Shumi is here. So but the actual battle is actually south of Shumi. So but it does acknowledge that the Ukrainians are in this area here, and perhaps there is another push we are not seeing around Sumy area, pushing into the north of Horlivka. So this is something that is very very significant. So I'm not sure if you care about this or not, but it is important that this is actually one of these more successful Ukrainian offensive operation that's currently happening, and they are actually making very good progress. So that's it for the New York front. So as just want to zoom out a bit. I'm kind of confused. Yep. Okay, so this is Horlivka, as you can see. Horlivka. Yeah, so they were pushing north. They're pushing pushing towards the west. So this is currently happening right now. So we move into the Bakhmut front. In the south Bakhmut region, the Ukrainian forces counterattack over at Kudyumivka. They were counterattacking over at the Klishevka region. Russian forces continue to be pushing within Klishchev, pushing at Klishevka as well as at Andriivka. I saw Surya maps mapping. They basically map this front line and claim that the Russian forces have captured this area of Andriivka. Based on this, whatever happened in that footage, I just want to acknowledge that I disagree with that, because clearly the video footage have shown that the Russian soldiers basically say that they are withdrawing, they have used up all their ammos, and it doesn't look like the Russians are holding positions in this area here. So it doesn't make sense for the Russian front line to suddenly become like this. So yeah, so just want to acknowledge, if you have seen the Surya maps mapping, just note that DPA on DPA side, we do not acknowledge, we do not look at this in the same perspective. So otherwise, it is still a Ukrainian position. You have to understand that it was a raid, and the Ukrainians are still within Andriivka. The raid did not kill off all the Ukrainian soldiers, so that is not there's not actually a very accurate mapping in that. If it's being mapped in that way. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces in these Dacha regions, which is actually caught as Ivanivsky by military summary, but this is actually not near Ivanivsky. This is actually just off Bakhmut city. But anyway, it was geolocated around here. So yeah, maybe this region here is actually located as part of Ivanivsky, in this way. I'm not sure, which is why we are seeing all these reports of fighting near Ivanivsky. In the area of Ivanivsky by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So that's about it. In the northern flank, we have no information. We move into the Siversk Front. There is no information about the Siversk Front as well, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, I think there is no information about this. So we move into the Kreminna Front. Over at the Kreminna Front, this is Kreminna city. The Ukrainians went on the counter-offensive after the huge push by the Russian forces within this area here. The Ukrainians attacked around in the area of Kuzmine, Dibrova, as well as Torske. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry say that the Russians were the one attacking at Torske, but looking at this general picture, it does feel like it's more Ukrainian than Russian in terms of the offensive. The Ukrainians are making one big push, and so Kuzmine was reportedly by the Azov battalion. No, they are not a battalion anymore. They have upgraded. They are now a brigade, the 12th Azov brigade. And so the otherwise, in terms of Torske information, the Torske region, nothing very special in particular. So we move on into the Svatove Front. At the Svatove Front, this is Svatove. There is fighting reported over near Kharkivka. Kharkivka. The Ukrainian forces reportedly were attacking this area here. Kharkivka is also known to be Petrivsky or Petrovskoye, according to the Russians. The Ukrainians are pushing a little bit, probably not very important, not a very serious push. And then we move into the Kupyansk Front and the northern part of Svatove. So this is the northern part of Svatove. I want to say this at the same time because it's part of this one report by the Russian Defense Ministry that actually shows that the Russians are pushing at Sinkivka, Petropavlivka, this is Ivanivsky, Perestove, and Stemekivka. And sorry for my Steam, I didn't off it. So the Russians the Russian themselves acknowledged, the Russian Defense Ministry reported that they attacked these locations: Petropavlivka, Sinkovka, Ivanivka, Perestove, and Stemekivka. So it feels like they acknowledge that they actually went on an attack. and then all at the same time. This is reported in today's report, which just came out not too long ago. So yeah, that's actually interesting to me. Whereas the Ukrainians basically only was reported to be counterattacking over at Sinkivka region. Again, this is as usual by the Russian Defense Ministry. Otherwise, we don't really have much information about all these developments. But let's see. Usually the reports here last forever. Since September of since August. The first time we map it in this way. There is not much changes in terms of the front line. So yeah, so that's it for the summary for the day of 633 for the 18th of November. Do press the like button, subscribe, and yeah. So if you this is actually published earlier over for the DPA sergeants, officers, and generals. Basically, the patron supporter, coffee, locals, boosty, and the YouTube membership. So if you want to not have delayed telecasts, do consider supporting financially for DPA so that we can continue to do this reporting and cover more stuff without worrying about viewership, because if not, then viewership is actually very, very important to keep up a certain level of revenue so that I can be accountable to my family. Yeah, so that's it. Do check out the other footages. All these war footages that I put on the DPA war channel are non-monetized. I did not monetize them. They are all just there for your viewing pleasure, for you to get some context about the things which I cannot put within this video, because once I put it within this video, the video will get demonetized. So this is just for you guys to check it out, and yeah, to keep the channel look alive and lively, and then I will try to do more for the main channel, and I'll see you in the next update.